have a motion to please reconvene public session of the reorganization meeting?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If everyone can please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for our servicemen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will now call roll. We have Mr. Spencer.
Present.
Mrs. Iannatelli.
Present.
Mrs. DiLorenzo.
Present.
Mr. Murphy.
Present.
Mrs. Mallon.
Present.
Dr. Senahorn.
Present.
Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno.
Present.
Mr. Koligibar.
Present.
Mrs. Poppy.
Present.
Mr. Hauser.
Present.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Spencer to please give the oath to our two new board members, Mrs. April Iannatelli and Mrs. Jackie DiLorenzo.
Of course. Would you like to join me at one here?
Solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of member of the Board of Education
the duties of member of Board of Education
of the Connecticut Central School District
of the Connecticut Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. At this time, I will now accept nominations for the office of President of the Connecticut Central School District's Board of Education.
I would like to nominate Marisol Mallon.
I second that.
Are there any further nominations? Okay, nominations are closed at this time. Please cast your vote after I call your name. We will go alphabetically. So Mrs. DiLorenzo,
Yes.
Mrs. Iannatelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Mallon,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes. Mrs.
Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno.
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations. At this time, Mrs. Mallon. So Ms. Mallon, at this time, will you please step forward and Mr. Spencer will read you your oath of office.
Guys, you have to shut your mic so.
Let's do it.
I state your name.
I'm Marisol Mallon.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of office of the President of the Board of Education
of office of the Board of Education, President of the Board of Education
of the Connecticut Central School District
of Connecticut Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Mrs. Mallon, I will turn the meeting over to you once I call nominations for the Vice President. So at this time, I will now accept nominations for the office of Vice President in the Connecticut Central School District's Board of Education.
I would like to nominate Ms. Napolitano-Ferno for that. And I would like to nominate Brian Murphy.
Are there any further nominations? Okay. As Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno was nominated first, I will do a roll call vote for her. We'll go in alphabetical order again. Mrs. Di Lorenzo for Mrs. Napolitano-Furno as
Yes.
Vice President. Mrs. Iannatelli,
Nay.
Mrs. Mallon,
No.
Mr. Murphy,
No.
Mrs. Napolitano-Furno,
No, I'll vote for Brian.
and I will do another.
But thank you, Jackie.
I'm going to do another roll call vote. So for Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Di Lorenzo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mrs. Iannatelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Mallon,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mrs. Napolitano-Furno.
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Murphy, will you please step forward, and Mr. Spencer will read you your oath of office.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, Brian Murphy, do solemnly swear. I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of New York. And the Constitution of the State of New York. And I will faithfully discharge the duties. Of the office of Vice President of the Board of Education. The office of Vice President of Education. The Connecticut Central School District. To the best of my ability.
Thank you, and I apologize in advance for any errors. This is my first time. So the school attorney, Mr. Spencer, will now administer the oath of office to the district clerk and the superintendent of schools. So Dr. Sinema, if you will.
I state your name.
I, Joseph Sentinel,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Superintendent of Schools
of Superintendent of Schools
of the Connecticut Central School
of the Connecticut Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
Thank you.
So Jesse, I'm ready. After.
We'll do it.
So the school board members will review the policies, 2160, which is school district officer and employee code of ethics, policy 2160 E.1, school board members ethics credo, policy 2160 E.2, school board members ethics exhibit, policy 2160R, school board member ethics regulation, and complete and sign policies and return to the district clerk no later than August 24th, 2021. Can I get a motion and a second to appoint officers of the Connecticut Central School District as enumerated on the agenda? Motion. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I call for a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the June 13, 2023 Board of Education meeting?
Motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
I'm gonna abstain just because I wasn't here. I mean, I was here, but I wasn't here. I was here, so I'm gonna abstain just.
That's a small one, Jackie.
Thank you.
April? Get out.
No. Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
So now we will call for board members for committees. The entire board is on the audit committee. For the health and safety committee, do we have any nominees?
I think that's a good one for maybe, I know, April, you were talking about you wanted to do safety, that's one of the health and safety. If you'd like to try that as a,
I might come back, but I know I want to do the policy committee, so I don't know how many I can be on.
okay.
You can be on more than one. I'll nominate myself for the health and safety. Anybody else for health and safety? Nobody? Going once? All right, the policy committee,
I would like to do that.
Jackie and April.
I would like to do policy committee as well.
So Jax, April, and Jackie as an alternate.
Let's just let the public know, we are, we're using Jax for me going forward, also for you. So that people understand when you're talking to Jackie DiLorenzo, she'll be known as Jackie. Because already so many people know me from social media as Jax, we're gonna go off of Jax, just making it easier for everybody.
All right, so is that good? Jax, April, and then Jackie as the alternate. Emergency management committee.
I would like to continue, this is my 4th year doing it. That one I would like to be on again.
Can you explain it? What do you do at the meeting?
Sure, I sit with all of the administrators from each building. It's a building management safety team. We sit with Don Flynn, who is the head of the team, and we bring in police officers, and we go over the safety and management. In case there's, a lot of times it's more for like active shooter, for what would we do in the event, where are we going to be located to, and since this is something that I do on a regular basis at my own job for the last 24 years, it's the reason that I always look to do this one. It's working more so, this is not what, it's not about, Don doesn't go over all of the safety stuff, he does that with the entire board throughout the year, comes in and speaks to us. This is more so a team that sits around the table and says, this is what our emergency management manual is gonna be, we agree to it, we go over what's coming up. Like for instance, our district and many other districts took over a RAVE Act that is also been done in Nassau County for the police. So it's just something that if it's in your wheelhouse, it's a good one to be on. But there's a lot of things you have to, it does, we do have most times, the police come in to every meeting and speak to us. We also have Homeland Security, that's it.
So that's one I probably could learn off of then too?
You will be able to listen. It's not so much what you're gonna learn, it's so much listen. It's not one that's gonna be about armed guards, it's not one that's gonna be about, it's just gonna be about emergency management. It's normally 10 to 12 on, I think it's like once every 3 months. Right, is it every 3 months or every 4? Is it like quarterly?
I believe it's quarterly.
Yeah.
Do I need to decide now, or can I tell you at a later date?
Usually these items are decided on right now.
Okay. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, you could think about it. I mean, I would like to do the emergency management one.
I think
Oh,
we
then
should.
that's fine, Marisol.
Do you want to be an alternate, April?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the technology committee, do we have any?
I'll do that.
You'll do it. Anybody else? Anybody else? So for the mental health advisory committee, I definitely want to do that. That would be my 3rd year also on that one.
I do too, it'll be my, I think I've already done it, so I'd like to stay on it.
And I'd like to be the alternate for that.
And the curriculum committee,
I'll do that. I'd like to remain on that as well.
and I will be the alternate, if that's okay.
I wanted to be the alternate for curriculum. But it doesn't matter. We could always, if somebody can't go, we could always rack it up.
Okay. So if we have anybody else that would like to do health and safety or the technology? Right now, we only have me for health and safety and Brian for technology.
I can do health and safety.
Thank you. All right.
Can I just just run through them again, just to make sure that I have everyone correct. All right, so for health and safety, I have Marisol and Jackie DiLorenzo. For policy, I have Jackie Napolitano-Berno and April, with Jackie DiLorenzo as an alternate. For emergency management, I have Jackie Napolitano and Marisol, and April as an alternate. For technology, I have just Brian Murphy at this time. For mental health, I have Marisol and Jackie DiLorenzo, with Jackie Napolitano being the alternate. And then for curriculum, I have April and Jackie DiLorenzo. And then am I listing Marisol and Jackie Napolitano as both as alternates?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, it's fine. Because if they have it during the day again, it depends on who's working, who's not.
So can I call for a motion and a second to approve the reorg items 2 through 50?
Second.
Does anybody have any questions on any of the items?
I have one on 38.
38?
That's the, is that correct, Jesse?
The district-wide safety team?
Yeah.
That is emergency management. They're one and the same.
Then why is it a separate vote?
I'm not sure.
I think it's, okay. It's because this is actually, you're appointing all of these district-wide safety team members. You see?
Wait, this is.
That's just appointing us to it. This is appointing the entire team of administrators, and actually I'm already on there from last year. And so it's all of that, that's why. It's got like Lakeland Fire Department, Bohemia Fire Department, Suffolk County Resource Officers, Sago Fire Department, it's totally different. You look at it and you look down, it says district-wide safety team and it has all the members.
You know, I.
That's who we're appointing.
Right, but I just didn't realize it's the exact same committee on here.
The committee was to join, for the board members to join,
Right,
and
and
then
this is on it, that's why I misunderstood, and I wish it was pointed out at the time.
Gotcha.
But thank you.
Yeah, I can see the confusion. Are there any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the second reading and adoption of policy 4320, homebound instruction? Motion. Does anybody have any questions on the policy? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I call for a motion and a second to suspend the business meeting and convene the public hearing of the district-wide safety plan and code of conduct?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will now call Mr. Labate to present our district-wide safety plan.
All right. Good evening, everybody. For those that don't know me, I am Adam Labate. I'm the Assistant Director of Security for the district. I work with Don Flynn, who is the District Director of Security. I'm here tonight to present the district-wide safety plan, tonight introduced into the 30-day adoption period for our safety plan, which is updated. It consists of, it's developed by the district-wide safety team, which I know you just discussed. Consists of representatives from the Board of Education, members of the administration, parent representatives, and we do meet quarterly. I know that was just brought up. We meet quarterly or on an as-needed basis. We have at times had some last-minute meetings to discuss any ongoing conditions. So in a nutshell, the emergency management plan is established to provide for the safety, health, and security of the students, faculty, and staff while allowing input from the community. So as I mentioned, the district-wide safety team does meet quarterly, and we go over the plan, and the plan is very fluid. It changes constantly depending on the needs of the district, any concerns, any threats, things of that nature. But it does set the groundwork for the building level plans. Building level plans, oh, let me mention that the district-wide safety plan is a public document. It is currently on the website, and it is available for the community to see. And this is when it starts the 30-day adoption policy. So if anybody from the community has any questions or concerns about it, they do have access to read it. But this sets the groundwork for the building level plans, which is confidential in nature because it's more specific to each building. So what that does, and each building has its own team set. It's in place by the principal, and it basically takes the district-wide safety plan and makes it specific to that building. And that adoption period, it's due to the district September 1st for their 30-day adoption period, and it's due to the state by October 1st. On the cover page of the district plan, you'll see an email address, safetyplan@ccsdli.org, if you have any questions or comments. Also, we have the security office has a 24/7 email we monitor if there's any safety concerns for the district. That's csdsecurity@ccsdli.org. If there's any questions or comments outside of the safety plan, you can email those to those emails, or if anybody has any questions regarding the plan, I can take them right now. Anybody? All right. Okay. Well, I also, before I forget, I'd just like to thank all the board members and the administrators that are on the safety team. When I meet with you quarterly, and I'd like to give a thank you to the parent representatives, one of which being Jill Connell. She's our SEPTA president, and she's always giving concern to our special needs. She's very involved in the safety meetings. So, and I'd also like to thank all the board members. I know Marisol, I know you just got appointed. Can't wait to see you. Jackie, always thank you for all your input at the meetings, and all the administrators. I'd just like to thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Lavati. So just so the public understands that we're all about full transparency, but when it comes to building-specific, school-specific safety plans, the reason why the state has them as confidential and not public documents is, God forbid somebody had any ill intentions towards one of our schools, we don't want to compromise the integrity of our emergency responses. So that is why the building school plans are not public for that particular reason. The district-wide plan is more of a general overview. It's a good guide for the buildings. I just want you to understand that component. Thank you, Evan.
Thank you, Dr. Simmer. And now, Mr. Kohler-Heifer, will you give us the code of conduct?
I certainly will. As everyone should know, or the board members should know, every year the board is asked to adopt the code of conduct that we are going to be using. The code of conduct meets regularly throughout the year, and there is a 30-day public hearing period where questions and comments can be sent in. So I'm just going to quickly go through any of the changes that were done. On behalf of Ms. Pisani, the Director of Student Services, I'm presenting this because she's unable to attend tonight. So the first thing is the Code of Conduct policy is 5300. The revisions to the Code of Conduct are made annually, as I stated. The committee meets to review these policies and make recommendations. Recommendations are always guided by the New York State School Boards Association. Both the required and the suggested ones are reviewed, and the submission to the Board of Education for review, approval, and after approval, adoption is recommended. This will happen in the next meeting in August. Is that correct, Jesse? Thank you. So policy 5300, the Code of Conduct policy, clearly defines expectations for acceptable conduct for students and everyone involved. This applies to all students, school personnel, parents, and other visitors when on school property or attending a school function such as a football game or a basketball game or something along those lines. These are based on the principle of civility, mutual respect, citizenship, character, tolerance, honesty, and integrity. The student discipline and support policies and practices are implemented in a manner which is caring and equitable, respectful, based on trust among administration, staff, students, and families, and holds all individuals accountable. The conduct while on school property, engaging in a school function or off-school property, harassment, including cyberbullying. And that's part of the DASA, Dignity for All Students Act. The possible consequences for unacceptable conduct and discipline, when necessary, will be administered promptly and fairly. So, as I stated, we review and make changes to this policy. The changes for the 23-24 school year were made to subsection 5300.05, which is the definitions section. The recommendations were made by the New York State School Boards Association and also the committee that convened. The definitions of bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, and then definitions were revised to reflect what's in DASA, as well as the discrimination definition was added. So just so everyone can see them, the revised definitions, bullying under the amended Dignity for All Students Act has the same meaning as harassment, which you'll see on the next slide. The accompanying regulations provides more guidance regarding the definition and characteristics of bullying to help the school community recognize the behavior. Cyberbullying is defined as harassment through any form of electronic communication, whether it's text message, social media, or any other of those sites. I have no idea what they are. Discrimination is the act of denying rights, benefits, justice, equitable treatment, or access to facilities available to all others, to an individual or a group of people because of the group, class, or category to which that person belongs, as outlined in the definitions section under harassment. So now the revised definition continuing for harassment. Harassment means the creation of a hostile environment by conduct or by threats, intimidation, or abuse, including cyberbullying, that A, has or would have the effects of unreasonably and substantially interfering with a student's educational performance, opportunities or benefits, or mental, emotional, or physical well-being. B, reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause a student to fear for their safety. C, reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause physical injury or emotional harm to a student. Or D, occurs off school property and creates or would foreseeably create a risk or substantial disruption within the school environment where it is foreseeable that the conduct, threats, intimidation, or abuse might reach school property. The harassing behavior may be based on any characteristic, including but not limited to a person's actual or perceived race, which includes traits historically associated with race, including but not limited to hair texture and protective hairstyles, such as but not limited to braids, locks, and twists. The harassing behavior may be based on things such as color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sex, sexual orientation, or gender, including gender identity and expression. So these changes were made through the committee and the New York State School Boards, and as stated, this is the opening of that public hearing for the next 30 days. Comments or questions can be sent to the email address shown, which is codeofconduct 23-24 at ccsdli.org. So if anyone has any questions, I will attempt to answer them now, and otherwise anyone can send questions in to the website attached.
I have a question, I don't know if we're allowed to ask questions.
We are, but that's coming up actually in 1 second. Thank you, Mr. Kohler-Huber. So just as a review, both the district-wide safety plan and the code of conduct are going to be on the district website for 30 days, and then the board will consider their approval at the August 8th meeting. So now the Board of Ed will give an opportunity to anybody in the public that would like to ask a question or to make a brief statement related to the public hearing only, so the district-wide safety plan and/or the code of conduct. Does anybody have a question or comment?
Yes.
Come on up.
I love the changes with the new policy. My question is, if, I don't need an come on, you can't see, that's why I'm on the time. So my question is.
Hello. So my question is about the new policy. I love the changes. I think they're very inclusive to a lot of different groups that need it. My concern though is, so if a child says, so-and-so called me fat, and then they say, but I didn't mean it, I was joking. How are we discriminating, or how are we determining between the policy, which clearly says you can't make comments about people's X, Y, and Z, but someone is saying, oh, I didn't mean it. How is that being handled? And who are the people that will be determining whether the act was indeed something out of hate or something being joked or that nature?
So if I may, I'm gonna jump in here. So one of the important lessons we're teaching our children today, of all ages, is to think before they speak. And so, this idea of we were just joking is something that has been, I know it has been, and will continue to be reinforced, in terms of, that excuse of we're just joking is not something that's going to hold a lot of water. It doesn't mean we go from A to Z in terms of some kind of a severe consequence. It just means, though, that we have a lot of work to continue to do.
Well, what will consequence be? My daughter's.
Well, it's going to depend. It's going to depend on the infraction.
But it's important to me because it happens.
But it's going to depend. It's going to depend. It's not a cookie cutter that you say this, you get this. There's unique circumstances, and we rely upon our building teams, which is not just administrators. Certainly if it involves a consequence, that comes from an administrator. But we've evolved beyond that piece. We have all of our service providers that get involved, whether it's social workers, psychologists, guidance counselors, working in tandem
It
as a
sounds
team.
wonderful. I'm
Right.
hoping it's enforced, which
So.
is my concern, because as I stated, there have been things just this past year, inappropriate touching, accidentally. Somebody wearing a pin with the pride flag that they're getting pushed in the hallway or it's getting ripped off a book bag. Are they major events? No, but the mental health, which we talked about,
Right.
of my child not feeling safe, is now going to be questioned. So I just want to make sure that not only is the conversation with my child, but the child that is inflicting those infractions,
Right.
as well as myself, because when I have to deal with mental health issues or feelings of safety with my child, I want to be in on that conversation as well.
I respect that 100%. Safety is paramount. We can't have a conducive learning and teaching environment if everyone, our kids and our staff, our community at large don't feel safe. And this is a key component. The code of conduct is a very important aspect of what we do. That's why it's reviewed annually. It's taken very seriously, and it will be reiterated to our building leadership teams, the importance of reinforcing the understanding of the code of conduct with all of
I
our
wish
students.
you luck with that, and I thank you, and I really truly do hope that it's enforced across the board for everybody in every circumstance. Have a great year. Good luck to you.
If I could just
Sure.
add to that, and Jackie, if you can help me out. At our very last mental health committee meeting, Ms. Basani had mentioned a new regulation that is coming out that if there is any complaint of any sort of bullying, there's an automatic process that's initiated, and it goes into the student's file, and it's looked into every little anything.
Would that apply to adults that are sending inappropriate or bullying emails to children?
I believe it does.
If it impacts the educational environment, yes, I believe that adult to child, child to adult, child to child, then an investigation is prompted. This is a new, I really wish Ms. Pisani was here, I can't remember.
The issue is also, though, that we have to be realistic with bullying is not just, everything is not bullying.
Oh, no, I'm talking about things that are in
Right,
writing.
Something that's consistent
No,
and
and
is done
that's something that Ms.
religiously
Pisani
over
had
and over
said, but
again.
not everything is
That's
bullying, but the second somebody lodges a complaint, this process is initiated and it is investigated and looked into.
And are you speaking about adult to child
Yes.
in reference to something that is school related though, like a
Yes.
school email?
Yes.
And like a teacher
Yes.
or guidance counselor
I am.
or, I'm just saying, okay. Because I was gonna say, if it's something and I'm just using like social media,
No, it
I always
was,
say
it was
people that you have to
written in
call the
school
police.
email, it was sent to a
Absolutely.
child from an adult, and I kind of,
no, absolutely. I would definitely say, would they call Mrs. Pisani and reach out or send an email?
And contact your building principal, assistant principal, you know, they're there to be a liaison to our parents.
okay, thank you.
Does anybody else?
I have a question, like when it comes to cyberbullying, and this is like might be a stupid question, just asking for clarification. It talks about how, I'm just reading from this, it has to be on school property or attending a school function, but like the majority of cyberbullying is happening off school property and not during a school function, so who's kind of making that determination that this is going to spill over into school hours, and like where is the threshold for that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like what has to be the concern that is going to start happening during school hours for the school to step in if the cyberbullying is happening outside of school hours and outside of school property? Because I feel like that's where the most of it happens, and it's the least of that happens on school property.
So obviously we want to be proactive and preventative. You know, that's always the approach. You know, and, you know, Mr. Spencer, he could, you know, chime in, of course, but, you know, I believe there's some kind of the nexus to what could impact the school environment. Do you want to take it from there, Mr. Spencer? Okay.
Absolutely can. So what the investigator is going to be looking at is whether or not there's potential for substantial disruption to the educational environment as a result of the conduct. So, and the superintendent is correct in saying that, you know, you're looking at a nexus, right? Is there a direct and substantial connection between the conduct and school? And then you're looking at this other level where you're looking at whether or not it has this potential to cause this disruption. So it's very fact specific. So for example, I couldn't give you an example right now of when that would occur or what that would look like. It's one of those things, you know it when you see it, and it's, like I said, very fact sensitive.
So, but it would be, we're saying affecting the kind of like school environment as a whole though, because like if I'm cyberbullied, right, like it's going to affect my educational process tenfold, but maybe it's like nobody else in the school is gonna feel that. Do you know what I'm saying? So like that kind of doesn't reach that nexus then because it's just one person.
Possibly, right? So just, there's another layer to keep in mind, right? And that's just because something isn't technically harassment or bullying, doesn't mean that that individual is not engaging in conduct that's subject to the code of conduct, right? So they may still be liable to be disciplined, suspended, right? And things like that if they're engaging in that conduct, even though it doesn't necessarily qualify as bullying or harassment. So you have a couple of different mechanisms that the district can utilize when it's looking at the conduct.
Okay. Yeah, I know the internet makes it a little bit sticky, but like I feel like that's where like the worst of it really does happen, and then the least can be done about it. So it becomes like this really nasty cyclone for kids. And so I was just wondering. Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just wanted to piggyback on what this young lady had to say about the events that happen during the school day. So it's very nice that Ms. Pisani has this new thing where you're going to fill out a form and put it in someone's folder. That's great, but here's the problem, and you are correct, there's no follow-through. So it has been my experience, and I know that I'm not alone because I do listen to a lot of parents and I listen to a lot of children. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing, just listening. And the problem that I hear often is that people will say, this is what's happening, this has been my experience. I say, well, you have to contact someone. What's the number one thing we always say? Please tell an adult. You have to tell an adult, right? Because they're going to help you. I did tell an adult. Did you send an email to this one? Did you speak to that one? Did you speak to this one? Yes. What did they do? They did nothing. They said, well, you know, these things happen. I'll talk to the kid. I'll talk to this one. There's a lot of talking and a lot of pushing under the rug. And while I understand everything isn't a federal offense, nor should it be, because this is how we're learning social skills through school. This is how we're teaching children, this is how we're letting them make small mistakes so their lives don't become a roller coaster of mistakes. That's what you want. You want them to learn and grow. You hope that you could stop the trajectory of disaster, right? However, when you are calling as a parent saying, and this has happened to myself as well, so it's not that I don't even have experience with this, this has happened numerous times to myself, and I rarely will call to complain about something. I prepare my children for the path because the path is not going to prepare itself for you. However, There have been certain instances where I've had to make a phone call because there was no other choice. And I was met with excuse after excuse after excuse about, well, you know, what are you gonna do? Nah, I don't know what to do. And that's great, we're gonna put a letter. Is anyone gonna follow through? In many instances, even DASA should be filed. The reason you file paperwork sometimes, not that it's gonna do anything or even against an adult in that situation. It's not because it's gonna specifically do something and you wanna get somebody fired or whatever. But the reality is, if somebody shows a pattern of behavior over a period of time, and they are consistently doing something to someone, you either, if it's a child, you're recognizing that it could be something that maybe this child needs help, and maybe we need to address that better, and we need to help that child, because that should be our number one priority, and we need to fix that, so this way, this doesn't, again, become a problem going forward, because that child is going to become an adult. So we need to help that child. We also need to help the victim, because nobody should go to school, to work, to anywhere and constantly feel victimized. It's just completely unacceptable to think that that would be okay. It's definitely not okay, okay? And as far as staff, I don't know, but any job I've ever been at, if I didn't do something right, my boss would bring me in, if that was the case, and I've seen this, and they would say, listen, this happened. They would make a note of it, it would go in my file, or whoever, if that was the case, that's the procedure, that's how it would happen. And that letter would stay there, and that would be it. If I continued to be a specific way, they would have to address that one way or another. And then if I had some major catastrophic event somehow, nobody could say, wow, we didn't see this coming. You could say, oh my goodness, this person has been doing all this, and it's not even to get an employee fired, it's to say, again, what's going on? Is there something that we can help you with? Are you struggling as an adult? Because adults struggle too, just like children. So we need follow through. But I have to tell you, it's been a disappointing situation, and at the end of the day, it's the children who are suffering the most. And it doesn't matter what the topic is, harassing, being picked on once in a while, having your picture taken while you're trying to sit in class, your posture's bad, you're online, people making Instagram pages. I'm glad you're on technology, Brian. Maybe you're on that committee. Maybe you could help them learn how to use the technology that will help the kids, because clearly no one seems to understand it. It's very hard to keep up with this stuff, but the reality is we need to do things to help the children, to help the staff. Nobody is following through. Well, I don't want to say nobody, that's a blanket statement. There are some people that are simply not following through when you call. And that is where it breaks your heart. For some people, maybe they follow through, but it hasn't been my experience with certain people, they do not follow through. And it's important that they do, because the children are the ones suffering, and you know what, we need to help them, and we need to help the adults as well. And that's just, I hope that there's follow through in it. That's all I'm going for.
Yeah, so I apologize if I wasn't clear. So with this new initiative that is being documented, there is also to be a follow-through investigation, and then it does get placed in the child folder.
But
so that if there are...
How does she know that there is a complaint made? So who's monitoring that? Like if I make a complaint, say I make a call you and I say, Miss Mallon, I have a complaint about Susie Q,
Right? And you're supposed to file this paperwork, whatever. Who's making sure, who knows that I made that complaint to you to make sure that you follow through? Where's the oversight? That's what I'm looking at.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Right, you're
I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Jenny, too. Most people don't realize that's supposed to fall under the administration in the building. It's a DASA, most times DASA is originated by somebody in the building that goes to either an AP or the principal. That's who's supposed to get involved. It's not really supposed to land on the director's lap unless it elevates there or you call them first.
but
But
that's how we
initially,
institute true restorative justice, if we learn how to help each other.
right, and that's why I always fought against a wrap room that was ineffective and didn't do what it was supposed to. It was an effective means and people followed through, but to just put one child in a room and stare at the walls, that's not an effective way to do things.
So let me just make this statement, and the expectation starts with me. I expect follow-through. So if I'm contacted, I'm going to follow through. If I don't have an immediate answer, I'm going to tell you, you know what, give me a day or so, let me get that information, let me direct you to in this case, a building principal. So that is my expectation, and it starts at the top with me. I have faith, and I need to coming in, that my administrative team, district-wide, is going to be responsive and timely in their follow-through. And that's my expectation of myself and everyone. Of course, as superintendent of schools, do I want to see you follow that chain of command? If it's something minor, you got your classroom teachers, and we got an outstanding, team of teachers across the district, outstanding. And then if it's something more of a significant nature, then you got your principals, your assistant principals, and what have you. And of course, at the end of the day, I don't want people, to circumvent them. If it's one of those situations where you're not feeling there's a responsiveness, then you can always reach out to your superintendent, Dr. C, and I will get back to you, and I'll make sure that the right person does as well.
And I'll say for the last 2 years that I've been on the board, Jackie, the prior board members, every time a parent sent an email, we would respond to this parent, get back to them. And we would fight for that, right? Jackie, you all did. Every time a parent would send something, we would ask that. And Dr. Joe, I appreciate that you'll be in touch. And Jenny, I apologize that I was on my phone.
No, I wasn't picking on
No,
your
no, it's
phone.
okay.
I was referencing your committee, not, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I was referencing your committee.
But I
wasn't
just
making
want to clarify, I'm supposed to be at a concert right now with my daughter.
No, it's completely fine.
and I'm here, and she sent me a picture, so I
No,
have
I
to
have
look.
no issue with that. I was
So.
referencing the committee you were joining. I wasn't like calling you out
Oh,
on the
good.
phone or nothing.
But I was on my phone.
Oh, I don't
My
care.
daughter sent a picture at Blue
You're a parent,
Bryan,
you
Jones Beach.
multitask, that's
Yes.
how life is. I'm good with that, it doesn't matter.
Jenny, regardless, if anyone, I've said this from the beginning, I've answered emails and text messages at 3 in the morning if I had to. I've answered on vacation. I actually answered there last week.
Everyone out there's got children and
But I'm
all
saying-
sides of phones. It's
Yeah,
just kinda like this.
no, I don't mean that. I'm saying to you, so if somebody is not getting what they need, they can reach out. Somebody will get back to them. I mean, somebody tagged me on a post the other day,
I just
and
want
I
to
got back to
follow
them.
through, like this young lady here, she had a concern with her child, and I definitely understand where she's coming from, and I just want to see if there are policies and procedures, I would like them to be put in place. Everything isn't linear, I agree with you. Every situation is different, Dr. C. So we definitely do have to take everything in context, but, when there are some serious issues, we need to not necessarily ruin everybody and go with torches, but we do have to really show that we mean business sometimes, and do the right thing to help. It's not always just punishment. We have to show that this is where you're going to make your mistakes, and we're going to help you learn to not make those mistakes.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? All right, so can I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing on the district-wide safety plan and the code of conduct and reconvene the business meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the club advisors, chaperones, and the coaching personnel items as presented?
As long as we're sure that the one was pulled.
Jesse?
Thank you.
The
Okay,
agenda was never released.
okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 8 of financial matters?
Motion.
Second.
Do I have any questions?
Is this where, Bob, you would be talking about what you brought up to us, or is there going to be a better time to do that?
I can certainly speak about it now. It relates to
Financial matters.
financial matters, sure. So what Jackie's referring to is actually positive news, and it relates to the actual tax rate to residents and also commercial businesses, those people who own those properties. We were just notified by the town of Islip, the assessor, that the assessment roll was finalized in the town, and when we do our calculations to determine the actual tax rate, we want to let the community know that the tax rate is actually going to be lower than what we had mentioned to the community in our public budget meetings. So I'll just back up a little bit. When we start the budget meetings in January, we do our best to estimate what the tax rate is going to be based on the budget we present. We usually use an assumption that the assessment is not going to change the assessed value in the community. So as we're doing our presentations, we're doing the best to inform the community of what we think that estimated tax rate is going to be. So fast forward from January to May, when the community actually votes on the budget, to now in July, when we're told what the final assessment is going to be. The assessed values in the community increased a little over $2.5 million. So that has the effect of bringing the tax rate down. So that's good news. When in December, residents receive their tax bills, their school tax portion, you'll still see an increase, but we believe that increase will be around 2.6%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 2 through 23? Motion. Second. Does anybody have any questions?
I actually was wondering if it was possible to pull, first meeting on this side, to pull number 3, to actually do it for 3 and 13 for separate vote.
I'm sorry, 3 and 13?
Yeah, 3 and 13.
Okay.
Jackie, can you explain a little bit? Not a lot, just a little.
Yeah, number 3, I just, being that I'm new to this side of the podium, I just didn't think I had enough knowledge of that, about the contracts just yet to go either way, so I kind of wanted to, I wanted to be able to look into it a little bit more, so I wanted to be able to abstain from that one. And then the other one, I just, when I looked into this, I don't know how to pronounce it, Savas? Yeah, this company, I had just some concerns about the promotions that they were promoting on social media, that they necessarily weren't looking to,
So is that number 14?
it was 14 on the original one, but the one that we just got, it changed to 13.
Yeah.
And they just, I want to make sure that every student is taken care of, and I'm not so sure that they want to, it's just my own concerns that they are focusing on just certain students, so I wanted to pull that one first up the road.
So what about tabling that one for more information? Because I'd like some information on number 14 before voting on it.
13.
13, my apologies, I'm looking at the old one where it was number 14.
So you would need to pull it from the agenda. If you're going to table it, it would have to be voted on at some point this evening.
I can speak a little bit to 13 for the status,
Okay.
right? So this is the professional development model that we would like to adopt as a district for a new math curriculum for our elementary buildings. So I know that you're new. This was a pilot that teachers engaged in across the school year. And we decided approximately mid-year in January that the status product was the one that best fit the needs of our students for elementary mathematics instruction. And then the conversation came around to, supporting the implementation of this particular curriculum. So how do we do that K through 5, which is a pretty large lift? And SAVIS offers a consultant model for professional development. We have the funds available through our federal grants to be able to support this specific model. which the committee thought would best suit the needs of the faculty as they delivered this new instruction. So this consultant model allows for the district to onboard with a single staff developer who is dedicated to ConnectQuad only across the school year. It's an annual contract, so it's for 1 year only. And essentially, that person would service all 7 of our elementary schools without a shared contract with another school or another district, enabling us to have the best level of support for the faculty and ultimately the students at large. So the Savvis is the umbrella company for the math product, which is called Envision Math 2.0. And that's the pilot that was conducted by our elementary teachers across the school year last year.
This has the EI. This is,
So the Savvis company is something that we've had conversations about with respect to DEI, but it's not, this is a separate kind of, this is their math, it's their math curriculum. So it's not related to, the social emotional aspect, it's specifically related to mathematics instruction. And, that it is a different curriculum altogether.
we've actually had, though, in the past, we've had issues with some math dittos, and we had some with financial literacy, where we actually had, they actually were talking poorly about anti-police. I know I brought a few forward. There was anti-police language in them. There was some stuff that should have, things that should not have been in there, and that I wouldn't approve, so I'm glad you pulled that for a separate vote.
And that's the concern, is I know this is professional development, that's what this is for, this contract?
13 is for the professional development.
So that,
The
yeah.
product itself, I will tell you, was certainly piloted in our buildings across the school year last year for an entire year. And we didn't see anything or receive any feedback that is similar to some of the feedback that we've seen in the past with different products, or a different product or a different approach or something that was reproduced from some other resource. The teachers very closely vetted the materials and used them in the classroom with students across the school year last year. So that committee was very comfortable making this recommendation, and they continued to use the resource through the remainder. The recommendation came mid-year last year, but they continued to use the resource through the end of the school year last year.
And will there be oversight, if the school, goes through with oversight to ensure that when they are doing this, they're focused on the academics? It's math?
Absolutely. So our Director of Mathematics, Mrs. Louise Berger, is at the helm of this entire project. She oversaw the pilot through our Elementary Literacy and Mathematics Committee, which was the committee that entertained the adoption of a new mathematics program. This is going back to the spring of 2022, when we knew we needed to start to have these conversations. So she is at the helm of not only the resource itself, but she is overseeing the implementation of that professional development through that professional developer district-wide next year. Thank you.
So, Ms. Poppy, later on in the agenda, there's the actual textbook adoption for the Envision Mathematics. All right, so this professional development is directly connected to that textbook adoption.
That's correct.
All right,
And then number 19 should be pulled for separate vote as well. No?
that's up to the board. I just wanted for, conversation and understanding purposes, since we're talking about the professional development that's connected to the mathematics instruction, especially the new textbook up for consideration, that you were aware that later on in the agenda it was going to appear.
It is
19?
It is 19, yes, it's,
I'd like a roll
Envision
call
Math.
vote for those.
So we're gonna pull 3, 13, and 19, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, can I get a motion and a second to approve items 2, 4 through 12, 14 through 18, and 20 to 23?
Motion.
Second. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And roll call vote for consent agenda items 3. Jesse, you want to take the vote?
Sure. So for consent agenda item number 3, the MOA with the CPDA, is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Mrs. Iannatelli?
Yes.
Mrs. DiLorenzo?
Abstain.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mallon?
Yes.
Mrs. Napolitano?
Yes.
Motion passes. So for item number, consent agenda item number 13, of full first for vote, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
April.
Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Iannatelli, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Mrs. DiLorenzo?
I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mallon?
I'm a yes.
Mrs. Napolitano?
I'm a no without more information.
So are you a no or abstaining?
No.
Motion fails.
Can I ask what happens because the motion failed? Like, how do we go forward with our math program?
That is my concern also. So this is, the program that we have spent time investing in as a district and effort investing in. So if there's anything that I can produce for the Board of Education for the next meeting, I have some deep-seated concerns about, just really not having something else to work with. We did pilot another program, but far and away, the Envision Math program was the winner, so to speak, in terms of this pilot. They felt that the curriculum that it presents was, again, most closely aligned with our students' needs. They felt that the other program that they piloted was a program that was built around a benchmark assessment. So that was a real deep-seated conclusion of the committee.
Can you possibly do what you did when Marisol didn't understand about having the CRT-DEI stuff in the New York State things that I had brought up, and everybody said, no, until they actually heard it from you. So maybe do the same thing with April, Jackie, myself, and if the other board members want, it would probably be good to do something like you did, where she brings all the information and shows it to us, and then you actually can see it, and really understand whether you want to vote yes or no.
Right. Do you have anything written from the committee on the topic?
So I believe somewhere there's a memorandum that encapsulates the pilot period that I have. I don't know if it's in your packet.
I meant from the teachers that were,
We have their feedback. We have the documentation that came from.
Email that to us so we can read their.
Sure, I'll invite you in.
Okay.
And, we can have sort of a smaller scale presentation so that you have a better understanding of what the process involved, what the product looks like, and what the parameters are involved moving forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
It's important to realize that as a school district, our bread and butter is our instruction. So these are critical conversations in terms of curriculum, textbook adoptions. A lot of work was done last year in terms of our teachers and our administrators, in terms of this piloting, this vetting process. But it's also important for our Board of Education to have a comfort. In terms of an overarching statement, anything that we adopt needs to meet the needs of our kids, our 5,300 plus. And so I think an important component for our Board of Education when you're considering things is to hear about all of our learners across the learning spectrum and how this will meet their needs. And I can trust Ms. Poppy and the team, and I'll be involved with that, we'll be able to address that. And I also think there are concerns that, things may be put into by some, publishers that are not always appropriate, and in terms of mathematics, it's not always that 2 + 2 = 4. Sometimes you can kind of sneak things in terms of word problems and things of that nature. And, we always want to be straight shooters right down the middle with our kids as we focus on the kids, all of our kids, and meeting their needs. So in the coming days and weeks, if you have some particular items of concern that you want us to dive into, Ms. Poppy and her team and me, you let us know, and then we can follow up, hopefully for that first August meeting, so we can, hopefully get your support and be able to move forward.
My biggest complaint is not gonna be the textbook, because a lot of times the textbook is not the issue. The professional development tends to be the issue, because we've seen in some of the professional development, it does not follow what the board has envisioned over the years. And so we could all say, we don't have any kind of, components of, again, I'm gonna use the word no one likes to use, CRT, but then we look in those NISMA books and we look in the New York State standards, and you're able to show us right there. And a lot of the professional development has gone in that direction. If you look them up, I've looked them up, so I know. I didn't realize this was one of them, but then when you said the name, he's had a lot of issues with the professional development that kind of toes the line and then goes over the line.
And so if I can just reiterate one more time, and we can certainly come back to the table about this. This is purely mathematics, and I understand that there is a variable when you talk about a human being, offering professional development to teachers. There is a loss of a locus of control, so to speak, because they're not speaking off a pre-reviewed or predetermined scripts per se. So I can appreciate that and I understand that, and whatever I can do to help the board see that that's not what this particular committee looked at. It's not what they experienced per se, and it's not what we're preparing to experience next year and in years beyond. I will certainly do that.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, and I do, but that is actually exactly what it's not necessarily the textbook.
Right.
It's the lens through which the teachers are viewing their classes, and that's what's concerning about it. It's not necessarily the material, it's how it's being taught. And then we see that with professional development, and all of those, it's all on our, I've seen it on our website, however many classes, and they have that component to them, so, thank you.
So it sounds like the theme is quality control, and also making sure that, there's not a cookie cutter approach. Every school district, I just talked about having, the unique needs of their student population. Well, the same thing holds true with our professionals, our teachers, and their specific needs. So, I trust that element of quality control and specific alignment to what our ConnectQuad teachers, support staff need to support our student learning is what we're looking at. And Ms. Poppy and I and the team will address that.
Do I have a motion for item number 19 on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Is there a second? Oh, it's Brian. Sorry, thank you. Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Mrs. Iannatelli?
No.
Mrs. DiLorenzo?
As I said, it's not necessarily the actual course book. I'm gonna vote yes on this.
Mr. Murphy?
I'm gonna abstain. Because we need
Mrs.
one.
Mallon?
I'm a yes.
Mrs. Napolitano-Burns?
I'm gonna abstain until I need to abstain. I need to abstain until I actually see the textbook. I would like to see a copy of it, the way that I've reviewed other curriculum with you. I'd like to do that.
We can do that.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Josie. So now we have Board of Ed. I was gonna ask a question, because maybe I'm new and I'm confused. If we said no to the curriculum and just yes to the book, that didn't make any sense to me, because why would we buy a book that we're not going to use?
We said no to the professional development, not the course book.
You don't necessarily, and I know you don't necessarily need to have, am I wrong, the professional development to use this textbook.
In this case, we do though.
Okay.
Right, so you could separate them, right, and you could say, we're going to adopt this textbook and the PD is not required, and we do that, you know, for some courses, we certainly do. However, we're talking about more than just a textbook adoption, we're talking about a program adoption, right? So it's a different approach to teaching mathematics. It's something that we are shifting. If you recall, if you've been sitting on the board, this spring I wrote to you about shifting away from Math in Focus, which is our former mathematics program. That particular version sunsetted with this past school year. The second version of Math in Focus is something that the teachers were a little bit leery about moving forward with based upon their experiences with the first version. And so the idea for these pilots was born. But when we're talking about a K-5 approach to mathematics instruction, the PD part of it is part and parcel of the programmatic concerns. So yes, we could buy textbooks, but there's a craft element to this as well. It's part of the instructional protocols that we need to bring our teachers to understand with this new product. So they do go hand in hand. So, you know, I know that we have yes votes for the actual books and for the product itself, but there is going to be a PD element that's going to be required for them.
Okay, then if I may, because I didn't realize that, I thought it was, you have the textbook, the professional development is something totally different. Can I abstain from this until further information, until?
We have to revote.
You have to put a new motion on the floor.
Put a new motion on the floor.
I have to, okay, I'd like to put a motion on the floor to
Revote.
revote. Okay, thank you.
I'll motion, I'll second.
Can I just recommend pulling it from the agenda until the next meeting?
If you want to table it until August 8th?
Yes.
The issue is you already have an approved motion, so there's really not much you can do about that.
Can't motion to?
You don't have a motion that was denied, right, where you would have a motion to reconsider. You have a motion that went before the board and passed.
Right, but we have a new board member who didn't understand, so that's why I'm saying you could motion to reconsider, and then if 3 board members say they'll reconsider, we can vote, no?
Right, so we're kind of refurbishing the playground rule of do-over, right?
Yeah.
I mean, essentially.
Do it a do-over, we can do it, that, I know legally we
Not
can
quite
do
sure
it,
it's in Robert's rules, but we'll go with that for now.
but it's legal.
It's a
That's all I-
mistake of fact.
It's legal. But it's legal.
So we can revote, yes?
Right. Just, look, if there was a miscomprehension of what was being voted on, then that's not something that you want to proceed with in any event. So, do it over.
Do over.
Right.
I like it.
So is there a motion to reconsider consent agenda item number 19?
Motion.
Okay.
Now, at this time, do you want me to ask for a motion for the agenda item, or do you want me just to place it on the table until August 8th?
I would rather place it on the table.
I would rather vote on it now, and then,
Right, wait, time out. You have to, you made a motion to reconsider, that has to be voted on.
Okay. So, a motion to reconsider, Mrs. Agnatelli.
Yes.
Mrs. DiLorenzo.
Yes.
We're voting
I
yes.
don't even know what we're redoing right now.
voting
We're
to
revoting
reconsider.
number 19.
You're revoting number 19.
You're
which
reviving this
previously-
motion
You
from
can
the
say
dead.
no, because you guys
Okay.
don't want yes.
Well, no, the motion was alive.
Yes. I'm a yes, so you gotta get 3 yeses, but they
Yes,
just,
I'm a yes too.
I
And this is for the text, so I
this
have.
this is just to revote. This is
Yes.
just,
Yes.
this is to reconsider.
Gotcha.
Now the vote should go now, okay, the motion to reconsider,
Correct, yes.
now we just did that. So we just went through and it reconsidered. You got 5 yeses to reconsider.
To reconsider.
Now the roll call
So
vote should
motion-
start again, a motion.
So I need another motion to put it on the table for consent agenda item number 19. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Iannatelli.
No.
Mrs. DiLorenzo.
Help me out here, this is to move it, to move the whole
You're a
thing.
no, because you don't want it to go through.
You were an
until you
abstention.
understand.
Right, and this is for the textbooks.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna abstain.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes, like I was 10 minutes ago.
Mrs. Allen?
I am also still yes.
Mrs. Napolitano?
I'm gonna be a no, but I would like to, like I said, look into it and we'll go from there. We need more information.
Sure, motion now fails.
Okay. Wait, you said the motion passed?
It passed?
Fail. Till we get more information.
We'll get you that information.
Thank you.
So moving on to Board of Ed topics, we have graduation speeches.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually start with what I'm working on, which is the grading, which I sent emails. And then I'll go on to graduation speeches and future graduation plans, okay? Yes?
Sure, what are you working on?
I'm working on grading, which is what I sent you all emails on.
Yep.
Just to give everybody some transparency, because a few days ago, I had requested, and so I don't expect any information yet. I just want the community to know what I'm asking. So I was contacted by some parents in regards to the AP exams, and then I was actually contacted in regards to final exams. So it seems that we have so many students that do so well all year round, but then when we get to test time, they don't do well on the tests. So the AP exams and also final exams. So I had requested from administration, from Ms. Poppy, and also from Dr. Sentimore, to give the board some information in regards to what does it look like this year, AP exam grades, to what AP exam grades have looked at a few years ago. Are we doing worse? Are we doing better? You know, do we need more reinforcement? You know, people used to say reinforcement, you know, retention, you need reinforcement for, is that what we need? Do we need to do more? And that's why I was asking if there's any options. Are they already doing this? Like, do we need more of, you know, kids study groups? Do we need to have teachers, you know, even if we have to pay extra for this kind of stuff? I feel like kids shouldn't be going to tutoring at the library to try to pass an AP exam. These kids are advanced placement, they're getting 90s in their class. And I'm not saying that there's not that anxiety, because I know plenty of people who take tests and there's an anxiety piece that when you go to take a test, anxiety kicks in. So I understand that, but if you got kids who are failing, and you got kids who are close to failing in their 70s, I just don't, and if I'm not mistaken, some of this is only 2%. Is that the Regents, or is that so like a lot of this thing, and the other thing that I was talking about is, why does Connecticut have a 70 pass versus the 65 that other school districts have, that I reached out? I know that this is before my time, it was changed. I'm not trying to say we need to have lower standards. I'm just saying for these kind of tests, I certainly don't think parents should be having children retake these tests because they got a 67 or a 68. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I understand they may not be the best grades. And then the other thing is, we have children taking advanced placement classes and getting 2s and 1s. If that's the case, I would like to know, I'd like the community to know, parents to know, is it worth the child taking the advanced placement then, paying for that test, if they're not really going to be set up for success? Are they better off in an honors class? And again, this is just my understanding from a bunch of parents, and then the parents reached out to me about other things, about final exams. In just regular, whether it's general ed, whether it's honors, whether it's AP, you go the whole year getting 99s, 98s, 95s, and then their kids are coming in with 70s on the finals. What are we doing to reinforce and get these kids prepared for these tests? If nothing else, can we do a test-taking skills class? Can we do something to help kids with testing? You know, for educational reasons, their grades should matter, especially if they're doing this to get into colleges, and now you have these classes that you paid for, and if they get 2s or 3s, what do they need to do to get a 4 or 5? Do we need more extra help for them? Again, a lot of parents told me that this year especially, which I was shocked, using Algebra 2. So many students needed to get tutoring on top of that. Not to take away from the teachers, some of these kids are just behind because of the pandemic. What can we do educationally to get these kids up to speed?
So there were about 5 different separate issues in what you just shared.
I'm sorry.
And so I'm gonna start to pick them apart,
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
you can stop me
No, bad.
when you'd like to. So I think I'll start with the last piece, which was a concern specifically about Algebra 2. And that's a great example because,
It's an example, I don't want to.
no, that's a great
Teachers,
example.
like my daughter had Algebra 2 and had a fantastic teacher. I want to say that it's more, like I've heard from people, that they feel like because Algebra 1 was during the pandemic, for instance, now these kids are in Algebra 2 and they don't even have the basics.
Right. And that was something that we recognized earlier in the school year. We applied some grant monies in order to sort of kick off that skill building opportunity for our students who are seated in Algebra 2 by reinforcing those concepts from Algebra 1. We offered that beginning in the spring, well in advance of finals and the Regents exam, because we sort of saw that trend and that pattern emerging in our student population. So we did assign grant funds to allow for the additional coursework to happen after school, where students could take advantage of those sessions, which were organized topically by Mrs. Berger and by the teachers who facilitated them to meet those students' needs. In response to student performance on the AP exam, I think it's important to note that those exams are not graded locally, right? So when we talk about variables that are outside of the locus of our control, they do, head out to a scoring committee, and then we are in receipt of the scores, right? So there's an element here where our teachers are preparing our students for this particular assessment in all of these subject areas with the knowledge that they're not the ones who are delivering those final grades on the assessment. There are always going to be variables concerning test anxiety, and these tests are high stakes, right? And I think they are still perceived that way amongst the student population. And so that's a variable that's difficult to control for. We have offered study skills courses in the past. We just don't have the best student attendance with them. In terms of performance, so I can provide for the board a 5-year look back in terms of how our students have performed. Traditionally, we have scored at or around the average performance rate for New York State. And or the global performance rate, and the College Board does provide that data to us. Scores were just released on July 5th at 8 a.m., so the news is still fresh. And I would love to prepare a report like that for you so that you can see kind of how we've performed and where our students have gone. What you will see is an increase over time in the number of courses that our students are able to take. And that's something that as a district we're very proud of. I don't think that any of the curriculum directors, if they were seated around me, would talk about dissuading students from challenging themselves in an AP level class. Because even if that score or that ultimate outcome is not what the child had hoped for or maybe even worked for, right? So if they scored a 2 or a 1 on the exam, they still had the experience of participating in a college level course while they were in high school, right? And I know that that's a Pollyanna viewpoint, but that's the truth. The rigor and the challenge of those courses has value in and of itself. And so, we have done a lot of talking to the students along with the counselors, along with the building administration about selecting those academic challenges for themselves as they complete their high school career. It's something that we talk about with them as 8th graders, and that message is reiterated over and over. So you will see an improvement in the number of students who are sitting for the exams, who are attempting them, and in some cases, the number of students who are successful with those exams, and in other cases, the exams themselves, will be new from year to year because we're onboarding different coursework where students are, again, selecting to challenge themselves. In terms of
Can I just ask Ms.
Sure.
Hunt, do you think that the opt-out movement has affected the grades and how children are able to and capable of taking tests?
You're talking about any tests, not just AP exams?
I'm referring to Regencies, to AP exams. Has the opt-out hurt our student population?
That's a challenging question, but I will say this. I think in some respects, there's a misconception within our Connect Commonwealth community that, that ability to refuse a test continues into high school, right? And these exams don't matter because ultimately either New York State is the only one that engages in exams like Regents, and they're not transferable to other states within the nation, or I have the safety net below me, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, that's going to protect me if I don't perform as well. So there's a complicated kind of twist that I imagine happens there, but I also imagine, Marisol, that some of that conversation is generated in our homes, in what parents choose to stress with their students. In terms of the faculty, I've said to faculty the expectation is that we have for our students is that they're going to participate in testing in Regents exams at the high school level to the best of their ability. The same goes for midterm exams. And Jackie, to your point with those percentages, in 2019, this district had a transcript committee that arrived at a reduced percentage rate for our final exams and our midterm exams and how they play into a student's course average. So that committee settled on the concept that final exams would be worth 8.4% and midterm exams 2.8%. What has happened in recent years as students have kind of come to realize that these percentages are in effect, there has been a dismissal that teachers have recognized amongst the student population to say, well, this midterm exam barely factors into my overall course average. This final exam barely factors into my overall course average. I didn't participate in that committee, but my understanding was that prior to it, those percentages were much more heavily dedicated toward testing, right? So we took in the past those high-stake tests and told students that they really count because they're factoring into maybe 20% of your course average overall, which could lead to certain other effects in terms of student performance in the courses that we're discussing here. Our Regents exams do factor into a student's overall course average, except for the last 2 years where the district elected to take a do no harm or a hold harmless practice.
Is this, now this is what I sent you guys.
Yes.
Is this also the New York State?
Yes.
New York State Education Department made it so that it was saying that typically a 65 is the exam grade that meets diploma requirements.
Correct.
But that what they did for the pandemic is they made what was called a special appeal.
Correct.
And so that special appeal is they earn a diploma with a lower score of 50 to a 64. Because somebody had said to me, can't my child get a 50? And I was like, I never heard of that.
Yes. So I had sent something to the community stating that, right? So
And it
this
says as soon as, this was good until August 2023.
2024.
So we're even,
2023.
right, so August, even if people retake this test in August, they only have to get a 50 to 64 on one of these regions for the special appeal, correct?
Correct. So they earn credit for the exam, but they also have to successfully pass the course, right? So the coursework has to be in place with a passing score, a locally determined passing score. For us, it's a 70. And if they score in that range between 50 and 64, they qualify for this special appeal. The district went with a blanket appeals process so that every student was sort of protected in this sense, and nobody had to voice their want or their need for that appeal, right? So actually, one of Dr. Senamore's first official signatures was to sign that blanket appeals for the students who qualified from our June 2023 testing period. So New York State has put that into place through the August 2023 region session. How that plays into the do no harm or the hold harmless is that traditionally our Regents exams, like our final exams, play into a student's overall course average at a rate of 8.4%. The state does not necessarily recommend that that take place, although the state recommends or acknowledges that that is a local practice in place in many school districts. So what we did in light of that special appeals process that was in play or is in play through August 2023 is we removed the factor of having a Regents exam play into a student's course average if their performance on the Regents exam does not better their average. If it betters their average, it stays in at the 8.4%, but if the student didn't do as well on the Regents exam as they did in their coursework across the school year, they're kept separate and apart. It's important to note, though, that the Regents exam score will be featured on the student's transcript.
Thank you. And just for the record, I'm totally against people taking away the ability for parents to not opt out. I believe parents should always have the right to opt out. I'm an opt-out parent, always have been. I don't feel tests that give kids anxiety, more anxiety, would help them get better at test taking. I think that there are better ways for kids to learn and take practice tests than actually sit in a room and actually have to take the test. That's really testing their instructor more than it's testing them. And I think it's unfair to the teachers as well, because how do you deal with something like that if you have a student with any kind of special needs or isn't a good test taker? Like I'm saying, kids are getting 90s, 100 in a class, and they get 70s in a class on a test. You have to wonder if they're just not a good test taker, or if they don't have the same retention skills as maybe somebody else long term, for like a final or for, like you said, Regents or an AP exam, versus as they're doing things and taking tests, great tests, they do okay with each one.
So I 100% agree. I'm an opt-out parent. I just wanted to know if there was a correlation between opting out and poor test grades. I mean, I opted out my kids and I have AP kids, so was there a correlation? That was my only question.
I think it's challenging,
and choice choosing to opt or not opt.
And the district echoes that feeling as well, right? So at the beginning of testing season, the letter that comes through my office reinforces that sense that the district is, behind parents in terms of their particular purview in terms of allowing their students to take that test or refuse that test. And so, we echo that. I think that what we've noticed is more of is kind of what I referenced before, Marisol, and it's that in our secondary schools particularly, we're looking at students becoming more savvy to how their midterm and their final exam grades actually play into their overall course averages. And I think a lot of the conversation and the weight does begin in the home as well. And we certainly echo the importance of putting our best foot forward and trying to succeed as best we can in our classrooms on those high stakes exams.
I look forward to the data, and thank you. I didn't want to put you on the spot tonight. I know that I only gave it to you like 2 days ago, 2 weeks, so I wasn't expecting anything tonight, just to give the community some transparency so they know that we are looking into it, since several parents have reached out to me. Another one, I'm going to go not in order, because I want to do future graduation plans. For those who don't know, at graduation, we had some issues. There was some fighting, some things that went on that I really can't get into, but what I can say is this. I have gone to Hofstra graduations, I have gone to Stony Brook graduations for high schools. Colleges can be rented out to do that. And not that I would ever want to change tradition, but I was thinking it would be a great idea if we looked into what is the cost factor for people who rent these junctures out, and also what are the benefits and the drawbacks. At that point, after we see if it's even feasible financially, I wanted to put a survey out to not just senior parents, but to the junior parents as well, since their kids, would be, and just as an option for something that we could look into, because other schools are doing it, because there are so many benefits of it, and the factor is that you're in, not just saying in air conditioning and stuff like that, but if it rains, you don't have to worry about now I'm only allowed. I actually just found this out at the last graduation, because somebody had said to me, if it rains and we have to go inside, I think you only get 3 or 4 tickets. And I was like, all right, so what happens? And what happens if you have a dual family, if they're step parents, and nope, you get 4 tickets and you can ask to get another. It was like really strange. I was really like taken back and said, all right, but if you went to one of these junctures and it rained, you have no issue. Because they're so much larger and can hold so many more people. So it was just an idea, not something I'm looking to change, not something I'm looking to do without community input. I think a survey would be excellent. I think tradition is wonderful, but I also think if we are realistic here, we see what other schools are doing and how nice it is and how beautiful it was and just all the benefits that come from it. We pay a lot of extra money to a lot of extra people. If you went to one of these junctures, and I don't even know, if you would know, I'd have to ask Tom too, if our security I think still goes. Because I went to one and there was still security there from the actual school district that was having it there. So it's not like we don't have our own security, it's just that you have a lot more security because you have your security plus theirs. And there's just so many benefits, and I gotta tell you, it's just an idea to eliminate some of the issues that we saw this year. Again, just an idea and something to look into. I'd love to see data, and I'd love to see what the community thinks of it.
So we'll definitely get that information. In terms of, let's say that was a direction that the board, the community wanted to go in. I'm not sure in terms of booking, it's almost like booking a wedding or something in terms of, is there a venue even available 11 months from now because of the timeline factor?
Future, this could be 3 years down the road.
Understood.
It's a conversation, something to look into, because as the times arise, it seemed like we weren't even sure if there was gonna be a graduation, we didn't know till the last minute, then it was, we don't know if it's gonna be the next thing, then you got people coming in from other districts causing problems, or students who already graduated, or whatever the case may be, and it's just a lot of risk factors in a field versus containing it in a building that can house as many people, I just think it's a nice idea, but would it be something that the community wants? Maybe not. But I'm just saying it's a nice idea and something to look into.
I also have to say, having a son who graduated this year, that this year's graduation was awesome. So I get where you're coming from, but I also appreciate my son being there at the school he went to for 4 years, and the family being able to be there, and all his friends, and yeah, some things happened. Something's always gonna happen. Like, we can't control everything, and it sucks. But I thought it went off without a hitch.
Well, that could lead me to the next topic then, since I'm gonna ask the whole board. So I got emails from several parents during graduation and then after graduation. And at which time I did reach out to, there are 2 current board members on here, to ask them for their opinion. So that's what I'd like to discuss. I'd like to discuss that there was one speech in particular that was sent to our superintendent at the time, Dr. Adams. And she had shared it with the board after the fact, because I requested it. that a building administrator, a principal, had questioned a speech. Now, there were several speeches, so only one was sent to the superintendent. But the reality is, it's not in the superintendent's wheelhouse to approve a speech at a graduation. It's in the wheelhouse of the building principal or administrator at that juncture. At the time, we didn't know I didn't know what speech was sent to the superintendent. I wish I would have known, but I didn't. At the time, a speech was sent. I questioned the board in regards to this speech was approved, and people felt it was inappropriate for the platform and for the day. So I'm asking the board members who wrote me how they felt about it and what you wrote.
I never saw the speech.
You never saw a speech? You never wrote? You never wrote?
Prior to it being,
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you, what were your feelings about the speech when I questioned you?
Jackie, is this something that we saw?
It was at the graduation.
why don't you tell me what I said? You're obviously,
No, I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you. I'm asking you to give transparency on what was.
give transparency on the speech?
Yeah,
I didn't really listen.
you didn't listen. Really? Because you wrote it was disrespectful, period. The board had no idea there was a speech. Walking out, Linda said there's one speech that
You were
drove the
accusing
line.
us of
So
knowing
Linda
prior.
knew, and who's to say she didn't change it?
You were
It was
accusing us of
disrespectful,
knowing prior.
period. Was that what you wrote me?
Yeah, that's what I wrote. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I said, read it.
Okay, so
Okay.
I don't understand why you couldn't say it. That's full transparency.
Whatever you want to call it, Jackie. What else you got?
Okay, well, I'm just asking.
No.
I'm just asking.
Okay.
Can you own what you said?
You just
Okay.
read it.
Right, so
Okay.
that's all I'm asking.
What else you got?
Why are you getting all angry?
I'm not angry. I'm not.
Okay,
Okay.
matter of what did you find?
Did I think it was the appropriate forum? I didn't. Did I think that it was my decision to make that speech? It wasn't. It was that student's speech to give, and it was her freedom to give that speech. Would I have chosen that platform? Personally, I wouldn't have, but I was not that student, so.
Okay, what you wrote was, this. I'm only reading off the phone because we made a past practice out of it at last meeting for the new board members, so you know, that Miss Kennedy had asked Miss Mallon to read off of her speech, her phone, and she did. And so, you read it off the phone. So it's past practice. Oh, watch the meeting. So, it was past practice. And so, the speech, as you said, you said the speech was in poor taste and not the proper forum for it. And I absolutely agree with you, so thank you. Because.
That's what I said. I said it was not the right forum.
I don't think
It's
that
not the
we
speech
should-
I would've chosen.
I don't think we should censor children. I don't think we should use them as pawns either. I don't think that we should have, building administration that see a speech like this and don't polish it or try to guide someone to know that we're there for all students and this is their day to get accolades. It's their day. If you want to come and you want to, take shots at the Board of Ed, by all means, come to the podium. I don't lose sleep. Everybody could come one by one. It's not going to ever change my life, what anyone says. But what it is going to do is, this would be the more appropriate forum than at a high school graduation where we should be celebrating students, staff, and everyone doing wonderful achievements. It's not a place, and it's not appropriate. But again, this was the same thing that happened on Flag Day when we invited veterans and we invited, at the high school, we invited veterans and we invited all these people from the soldiers. I don't remember you guys were there. And there was another speech given that went in that direction. And it just kind of tells you that I don't know what goes on, but I read the speech and then I saw the email. So the email was sent to the superintendent trying to pass the buck. And that's not how it works. It's in the wheelhouse of building supervisor. That's who should approve it and stand by it, not ask the superintendent. I hope in the future, if you as the superintendent get something like that, you pass it back to the person who, that would be my hopes, pass it back to the person who is in charge of it. It's not meant for the superintendent to take the bullet because the building doesn't want to take responsibility or accountability for what goes on. That's what I say. one more thing I have that I'm working on. So I need to know, and this might be you, Reza, because of discipline. So if a child, and this is hypothetical, Doug, you might be able to help me with this. So parents were questioning me on, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm asking. If a child has pornography on their cell phone, and it could be their body part or someone else's, and a teacher sees this and tries to discipline this child, or children, and administration steps in because of who the parent is, where is the integrity in that? Is there something that can be done? Can that teacher, what does a teacher in our district do in that kind of, I'm just trying to understand, what is there, what do they have, that's why I'm asking you, what options do they have in that situation? Does it warrant an investigation? Does it warrant me telling parents to elevate it to the school board?
So let's kind of unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
So by your example, you have a student that has a pornographic image on their phone, regardless of what it is or who it is, whatever, nobody cares. Then you have a teacher that discovers that, right? Somehow, we don't know how, right? It's a relevant fact, but we don't know how. And thereafter, the teacher is discouraged, is that my understanding? From pursuing, reporting it, right? Is that what you're saying? So that the student would be subjected, so the student won't be subjected to discipline.
Correct.
Okay. So is that improper? Yes. Is that worthy of being investigated? Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. And who would that person, who would be in charge of that? Would it be the school board, or is it the superintendent? Is it the
Well, the school
HR?
board does not have authority to conduct investigations. That's not,
No, I didn't know if we voted on that, that's why I'm saying.
no. So that's an internal investigation. If it's a staff member, it would go to your director of human resources.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Did you want to talk about the mascot?
Was it me who put the name? No, I
Oh,
didn't.
Ms. DiLorenzo.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, I guess, legal, if we can have an update on the mascot, what happened, what's going on with our T-bird. I don't know if there is an update, if you can provide one for the public.
I don't believe there's an update that I can provide to the board at this time. It's a conversation probably best left for executive session. It's one that will entail legal advice on what direction the board wants to move in. Once the board makes a decision as to where it wants to go, then I think that's a discussion you can have and inform the public as to where it is that you're going and what your thoughts about it are. I know that it's kind of a mixed bag at this point. You have some school districts that are subjected to the name change that are fighting it. Some are not. So like I said, though, a discussion at this point, best to have an executive session. As far as where you presently stand as Connecticut Central School District, I know that your former superintendent was having discussions with the state about an alternative name, in other words, Thunderbirds versus T-Birds, but I don't know quite where that conversation left off.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So just in a general sense, I don't know if she's spoken of graduations. I had a conversation with Senator White and about this matter. Obviously, it impacts a number of school districts on Long Island, so we are going to be furthering that conversation with the senator in collaboration with other school districts to gather more information, get better understanding, and then obviously we'll have our internal conversations and, of course, our public conversations about it.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to discuss? Okay. Yep, I will now open the floor to public comment. Yeah.
I thought I was gonna, yeah.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm now going to open the floor to public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see the security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments shall be kept as brief as possible and relate to school board matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board may consider a recess until order is restored. Number 1.
Hi, good evening. I just would like to speak to you guys regarding all of your comments and opinions on the graduation speech. I feel that student was given the opportunity to speak of everything that she learned over her senior year of high school. Maybe she or you guys did not agree with her, but I really don't appreciate how it is brought up in this public forum. If everybody was so upset, maybe you should have spoken to her or her parents before graduation, which, once again, not one was done, but yet here in a public forum, you, and everybody knows who this speech is. You don't have to name her, it's pretty obvious. And I think that's quite disrespectful to a 17-year-old. And you as adults, this is how you want to portray yourselves? Any comments?
Yeah, it's not, it was never against the child.
Really?
It's against the adults that should have
You
polished
put down her
it
speech.
and spoke about it. It's about the adults who decided to try to pass the buck. And it's about the adults that wanted to call someone like myself out on that forum. And now I'm gonna call them out on this forum. And I apologize if that's upsetting, but since
You're involving
people
child.
who, no,
Yes, you are.
I don't
You
think
called
that's
out
what
the
it is.
graduation
I don't think,
speech.
I think that some people should
Step
go
up and be
rewatch it.
respectful.
Yeah, and I
Be
think that,
respectful.
I think that
You're
I
a big
would
believer of
never
respect.
allow
If you had a
my
problem
child
with that
to speak to an
speech,
elected official
You should
like
have
that.
called.
Sorry,
Which none of you
but
did.
that's what I
You all know
think.
who I am. You're disgusting and you preach respect and you sat here in a public
Maybe go
forum.
rewatch it.
And I
Maybe
really,
go rewatch it.
I have
And
watched
maybe
that
go,
speech many
and like
times.
I said, maybe you should go to the high school, speak to the building principal,
You
and
never
ask,
called with
and
problems.
ask him why there's all these people that are complaining to me. I'm not making it up, I got the
Really?
emails and I have
Show
the
me.
texts.
I would like to see
Okay,
it. And I would
foil
like-
it,
Show me.
foil it,
Foil it?
yes,
Talk about respect again.
no problem, have a
No
wonderful
respect
night.
from you and you deserve
Have a
none.
wonderful night.
Drop dead, bitch.
Oh, so respectful.
Why? Respect is earned, not given.
Yeah, lead by example,
Drop dead.
lead by example, please,
Lead by example.
even better.
Please, no name calling.
Natalie, you did a great job holding the meeting together.
Thank
To
you,
my
Jackie.
face, not as I walk out.
Oh, what am I saying?
Yeah,
No, no,
tell me
Lead
what
by
you said.
example.
No.
Lead by
What did you
example.
say after that?
Ma'am, lead by example. There are children in the room. If this is how you think parenting is good, it's not.
Number 2, please.
I'll come to the mic. So graduation was wonderful. I was very grateful it happened because, as you all know, the weather was impending the wonderful celebration of their hard work. I have to say I was very impressed with all 3 speeches given by the students. I thought that they were insightful to share their experiences. And I will say that the one thing I am most proud of with my daughter is her ability to learn how to speak and express her opinion and not be afraid when people are challenging her opinion when it's different than others. Do I agree that running hurdles is the best way to, teach and share your own experience? Well, it's not my experience, it was his. Do my parents come from another country? No, I can't share that experience with them either, but many of them can. So when you have a student that's choosing to speak on something that we all don't agree with, I don't think it's fair to go after them. Yes, my family has been at many board meetings. All of you have seen my face. My children have both spoken at many board meetings, and you know who they are. However, I think stifling someone's ability to speak their truth and give their interpretation of how their senior year went, and to call it out in a public way, which not only, you were just referencing the speech of veterans.
You have to speak to the board president.
That was my daughter. So, again, we're talking about saying things that are inappropriate. If that speech was inappropriate back on Veterans Day, like I said, no one ever spoke to me about an inappropriate speech that my child gave. So the transparency of things being said about children is kind of like on the borderline of bullying. That's what you're doing. So I will share with you what was done when I made my comment before. My child was called a bully, or not a bully, a liar, and she was accused of slandering. You asked if I had reached out to the person that I did? Yes, I did. And you know what was done? Nothing. And you know why? Because it was the highest person within the district that called her a liar and called her a slanderer. And then when she researched, she felt, oh, it was a mistake. We'll call it a tech error. And yet then, didn't even get an apology. There was no conversation after I finally said to her, we need to put closure on this. And I'm gonna make it quick because 17 seconds goes fast. You have to listen to the kids, all of them, the ones you don't agree with. That's the issue. Your agenda is targeting a certain group and you're excluding everybody else. Please, I'm asking you as the superintendent, be mindful of all the students, the ones that they represent and the ones that they don't. Thank you.
Would I be able to ask a quick question? Is that, how many students spoke at graduation? 3. There were 3?
No, there was more.
Oh, there were more?
There was more than 3.
Well, just my question
There
is.
is the valedictorian, there is the valedictorian, the salutatorian.
It was 3 students, it was 4 speeches, but 1 child spoke twice.
Okay. And my question is, were all of the speeches sent?
Nope.
Or was just one? Okay.
No, the board only got one that the high school principal, Mr. Moran, sent to, at the time, Superintendent Dr. Adams, asking her for her approval, which she did not give anything because it's not her place to.
I was just curious if it was all the
Only
students,
the
if
one
it was equity
speech.
to all the students. all of
And the question
students.
in the email was, for transparency purposes, was very simple. It said, do you have a problem with this speech? As if to pass it off to the superintendent. So the whole discussion is really more about how things like that should never happen.
Thank you. I just wanted to see if it was through all of the students, if every speech was
Yeah, it needs
given
to
the
be,
same.
a building supervisor, a building principal needs to own what they are supporting, which is fine. But then support it, be accountable, be responsible for it, and don't try to pass the buck.
Let me just say, in the past, from my experience, the English department actually read the speeches. I don't know if there's something is written that is the building principal, but maybe it's something that has to be put in place, just.
I used to, as
Oh.
an AP teacher, I would read the speeches occasionally, if asked to.
We have the email,
Teachers have done it.
you could ask Jessica to send you an
No,
email.
no, no.
I'm saying so that you could read it.
I'm just saying, I don't know whose responsibility it is what I'm trying to say, that maybe if you want to, hone in on that, and Dr. Centimore, maybe you can, throughout the year, decide that on your own,
Yeah, so, we want to make sure that our students are getting the proper guidance in terms of helping to prepare for public speaking. And, there is a fine line in terms of, that freedom of speech. Certainly, Mr. Spencer could speak to that, these are school events and they are being invited to speak. And so certainly there are going to be certain limitations in terms of use of foul language or anything, openly discriminatory or things of that nature. But sometimes they're off fine lines. So my takeaway from this is that, I will have conversations with building administrators, moving forward. It doesn't have to just be a high school graduation speech, to work with students, whether it's also getting them help from English teachers or whomever it is. Writing these speeches are very difficult. It's difficult for adults. Giving a speech is the same thing for adults, difficult, certainly for our students. And just, I think you used this word earlier, guidance, okay, as opposed to censorship.
No,
Right.
that was
so-
my point, is I am disheartened and disappointed in the adult guidance that was not given. And again, it has nothing to do with, I don't care if someone gets up and says their speech is about me the entire time, God bless. I'm saying to you that there should be guidance, and we shouldn't have any administration sending it to the superintendent to approve, just so that, in my opinion, if you read the email, it's trying to pass the buck. We shouldn't be passing the buck. It's not about censorship, it's about polishing, helping guide students to know what a platform is. When you get that kind of opportunity and that kind of honor to speak at graduation, I know for myself, I had the honor, and I made sure that every single word that I spoke was about the students. And that's why it came off the way it did. That's why I also asked for the board to have Senator Alexis White speak. That's why I asked you to call her in regards to the mascot, because I have reached out to her and I advocated for these kind of things. What I cannot stand by is stay silent when several parents reached out, and they had every right to be upset that it felt like the graduation was going sideways to an attack on board members. It just didn't make sense to have that kind of platform be the correct way to do this.
Number 3. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So a few things that I want to talk about here. If we're going to talk about accountability, somebody should feel accountable, and I'll talk to the president. I just feel somebody should be accountable that they made a student feel so intensely, they utilized their time that they earned at a graduation to verbalize that. And I just was going to bring up kind of that border of freedom of speech, of like, it's only freedom of speech if you agree with what's being said. Is that the message here? So that's number 1. And like, shame on you, because that student earned the ability to speak there and earned that time. Now, my next question then, I thought we weren't to mention staff by name, so if we are, then I will say, who should Mr. Moran, since you said his name, have gone to if his superintendent is just like, no, I'm not gonna help you? Perhaps his question was centered on the fact that I don't know how I feel about this, which is acknowledging, I'm not sure if this is something can be said, but like, can we censor what the student wants to say? If there's no threats, there's no foul language, there's none of this stuff there. So where does my line fall? So instead, want to talk about passing the buck, seems like it was thrown out to the wolves so then it could be a talking point here for another attempt at ruining another group of students' school year without him. So that's the next point I want to make, because this is absolutely disturbing to watch, as usual, right? As usual. So really quick, just want to circle back. Some other people might want to rewatch the board meeting, because I know for a fact that Marisol did not read out anyone's phone. All she said was that she was shown the phone. So that would be the next point, because if we're going to spread factual information, it needs to be factual. Finally, I just want to we're going to take a time travel back to 2020. I just want to throw it out there to the board president that on the June 29th, 2020 meeting, Mr. Gercio himself actually said, and I quote, "The only authority that a board has over its members is the authority to remove for cause," that there's an allegation of a code of conduct has been violated, and including in that would be impeding the board's ability to function, which I think we all know who is doing that on a regular basis. This is non-functional. This is the laughing at the community members, right? After being on her phone for 95% of the meeting.
So, you know,
So this is my time. This is my time to speak. Like, unlike your potential, right?
And I'll answer.
Please
So,
don't finish.
I don't want your answer. You're not the president anymore, and you're not supposed to respond to public comment. So with that, I will say, if you don't think that
I'm so happy I'm
this
not the
is
board president.
impeding the board's ability to function, and that this individual does not need to be taken out of this seat to try to restore some sanity to this district, I don't know what anyone is doing anymore. Thank you.
God bless.
Thank
Hold
you.
on, as a board member, I would like to ask Doug Spencer, oh no, I'm asking my attorney for the school district, the school attorney. Could we just go over again for one moment, just to give the community transparency? Since they love that word, I want to give it to them. And I need to know, I'd like them to understand what is egregious about bringing things forward that are truthful?
It's your
Is it the truth?
But if I could just
Isn't the truth an absolute defense?
I'm
asking you tonight.
going to respectfully punt on that question.
Yes, that's the choice.
You're asking, right, that's a legal term, punt.
Oh, yes, that's what I'm
So
saying.
you're asking me to provide a legal opinion in front of the community and outside of executive session.
Okay, no problem.
So I can't do that.
Well, like I said, the truth is an absolute defense. I know that
I'm
it's
just gonna
not
ask them
egregious
to hold
about
any
that.
attorney questions till after public comment. Number 4?
Hi, welcome back to stage. I'll welcome you later. I only got 3 minutes. I got a lot to talk about. Okay, listen. Jackie, if you're looking for the AP stuff, listen, something to keep in mind. AP classes, the class is one thing. It's a college level course. So when you have a 15-year-old taking a college level test, you got to keep that in mind. That's something very important when you're thinking in terms of scoring. If you want to look at the statistics for all of the scores across the United States, you can look up the AP score distribution for 2023. Google that, it'll give you the percentage of how many kids got what grade in every single test. It's the AP score distribution 2023. You can look it up, it gives you the stats for every single AP test across the United States. You're welcome.
I'll give it to you.
Okay, the other thing, we're talking about speeches, I'm not gonna get into it, but I am gonna say, a good idea to maybe stop all of this for the future is that maybe we have guidelines for speeches in public with any of the kids. I agree in free speech, however, I do understand that every place you speak, it's a forum, you have to recognize your audience, regardless of what it is, whether it's here, whether I'm at a ball stadium, whether I'm on the sidelines at a game. So maybe if we have guidelines, we have a rubric, and the kids understand what's expected of them, and then the adults could help hone that in for them and help them, so this way they can put their best foot forward, whatever that looks like. That's what I have to say about the speeches. Also want to talk about the augmented reality SAM tables. Hopefully we're making progress in putting out bids for those now that the budget has passed, because I know we earmarked $100,000 for those, so I want to make sure that those don't get lost somewhere in that. Also want to make sure that we order uniforms for the unified teams. Those kids cannot continue to just have t-shirts hoping that somebody donates them. It's completely unfair, and quite honestly, it's gross that we don't have uniforms for them. That's absurd. They're a sports team. They deserve uniforms.
I
same, yeah.
No, they don't.
I was told by the AD that they do have uniforms.
Stop
I did, it's just delayed.
It's just a delay. I was informed by the AD that those unified teams do have uniforms.
Okay, because I was at a SEPTA meeting and they said that they were counting on t-shirts about like 2 or 3 months ago. I was at a SEPTA meeting and they were getting like, I think it was like the bowling team maybe, or basketball I think it was. They were getting like t-shirts donated or something.
They
And
did.
I think they did get
That was
t-shirts, but they also have uniforms.
Now they, okay.
Basketball SEPTA paid for.
Okay.
And that was, I want to go back 2 years ago. I don't know what they did last year, but 2
I
years
think
ago.
last year they also had t-shirts, that's why. So I just want to make sure that everyone's
Yeah,
represented
we
equally
make
and
sure-
equitably.
Yes.
That's the way we have to do it.
You're right
I want
about
to make
that.
sure everybody has what they need, they deserve it. Another thing, going forward, we definitely put a policy out there, stop sending parent notices to Google Classroom. I am not a student, I do not check Google Classroom. Anything that requires money, information I need to know, field trips, fundraisers, yearbook information, senior class timelines, please send me an email, send me a robocall, send me a hard copy paper, send me something. I'm not checking Google Classroom. Nobody checks their kids' Google Classroom. You shouldn't be. It's their password, it's their stuff. I'm not doing schoolwork in there. It's absurd. Let's see. Oh, please, board, support the teachers with their opinions on the math program. I understand the concerns with it. Maybe have the director go through the program and pull out things that they might find questionable. And I say this as somebody who works with kids all day long. We know what our kids work best with. We understand how they learn. So if the teachers are telling you that a program is great, there's a reason for it. It's the way that they're going to teach those kids. So do your best to try and support that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5?
As usual, I come to these meetings and get confused. So, I'm hearing that it's a policy if a principal at any level has concerns, issues, needs advice, he's not to go to the superintendent, or she.
So let me clarify, as the new superintendent, I'm a resource to all of my administrators, teachers, and support staff. I don't think that was the angle that this Napolitano was coming from, that I'm not there to be a resource. But since I'm here now, I'll let it be known I am here.
So in any situation where a principal may have concerns, even if it's about a student's speech, you would feel comfortable answering that principal?
I'm always comfortable having a conversation with my administrators. However, there's an ultimate responsibility of a final decision, which I will certainly give guidance on, whether it's speeches or anything. There's 101 things come up in the course of a day, a week, a school year. So I'm always there to be a resource, not to micromanage.
So that's exactly what happened. That a principal reached out for guidance, was given some sort of guidance, and he accepted that guidance.
He's speaking as a third party?
Well,
You're not
no
here.
names cannot
okay.
named, the man that cannot be named.
They can tonight.
Oh,
They can get
oh,
No,
okay.
just finish your,
No, so that's my thought.
What the heck
It's-
time does she come to the meeting?
This event
If she
has
was-
to be across the board at all times for all people. It's not selective. That's it.
thank you so much. Number 6. Number 7.
How many numbers?
Number 8.
Next one's 11.
Oh, number 11. 9, 10.
No 6 through 10.
Oh,
10.
number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Number 10.
Hi. I wanted to do two things tonight. One, I wanted to welcome everybody who's new to the board, including you, Dr. C. As you can see, we are a pretty hardy bunch. We like to have our discussions loud. What I would like to tell you is that I'm the president of the Greater Ronkonkoma Civic Association. We will be having a meeting July 20th, I'm sorry, at 7 o'clock. I'd like to invite you and the 2 new board members, if you'd like to come and talk, introduce yourself to the members of the Ronkonkoma contingent of Connecticut. We would love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you have a time for that, just so?
That's 7.
7?
Is that 7?
7.
Is it at the firehouse?
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's at Knights of Columbus.
That's Columbus.
Number 11.
Hi. So first and foremost, I'm gonna be completely honest. I was the one who gave the speech. One, I'm not a pawn. I had my own thoughts, and I spoke them. And you said before that the truth is inevitable and whatever. Well, the truth is that I didn't feel heard all year. I went to almost every single board meeting, and control. I'm just speaking.
Control. She's speaking.
I'm
She's just
speaking
looking
politely.
around.
Is that a problem?
She needs to speak to the board president.
She is. She's looking around. She's okay.
Eye contact
She's
there.
fine. I am controlling the meeting. The meeting's under control. Please proceed,
Thank you.
Well,
So-
because everyone's looking at me.
The truth, as you said, the truth is inevitable. Well, the truth is, I didn't feel heard this entire school year. I had my own problems, and so I came to these forums. I tried to speak about it. I spoke publicly about it, and nothing ever happened. I felt unheard, and so did a lot of friends and people that related to the situation. So I decided, you know what? Maybe I'll do it to even more public forum where people who might not even know the issue can hear what I have to say. It was my choice to say what I said, and granted, you're making it seem like I had this entire speech that was just about you guys. I was like a 1 paragraph out of like 7. It was about maybe like a minute of the 3-minute speech. I addressed it, completely moved on to like student government and homecoming. Completely changed the subject. So, and I don't know how to like talk to her, but she said she got like texts or whatever. Well, I don't know why they went to you. I know that's not your issue, but I don't know, deal with it. I don't know what else to say about that, because they texted you for a reason. I don't know why. Because you didn't say it, I said it, you didn't approve it. So really, I didn't appreciate what was said here tonight about what I had to say, because after a full year of getting disrespected for who I am and who my friends are, I hear that me coming back at that was disrespectful. And I wasn't really a fan of that, so that's why I wanted to come here and just clarify once again, I'm not a pawn, I have my own thoughts. I may be only 17, but I do have my own thoughts and own opinions that I'd like to speak of. And I would just like to say thank you to you guys because
because now I have a newfound, which I did talk about this in my speech, I have a newfound confidence for public speaking and being able to share my opinions in crowds that I might feel like don't really necessarily agree. So I just, overall, I will sum up. Thank you for the opportunity for public speaking. I had a great time this year. I'm very happy I graduated and no longer have to deal with, and just thank you, not upon, didn't like what was said, and if the lady I'm not allowed to talk to, if any of the people like texting her like really have that much of a problem, they can contact me, but I am a minor, so I don't know, it might be illegal. But if anybody has a problem with my speech, they can talk to me about it. They don't have to cry to anyone else about it. I gave it my words, and I stand with it. I'm proud of what I said. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think we had a problem with your speech at all. It was your right, it was your speech, it was your freedom. Did I feel like it was the right forum? Not personally, but that's okay, because that's for me, because that was your speech.
And I was lying, I actually listened.
Number 12. Are there more numbers? Okay. So can I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the business meeting?
Maxwell, I do think there's one more individual who would like to speak. And she might have missed the message about the numbers.
Oh, okay. I had gotten the message there was no more numbers. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, sure, come on up.
About the APs. I know I'm not supposed to speak to you, but I will.
Come on up to the microphone.
So, the APs are open for anyone, is that correct? So when I was teaching at Connecticut, anyone could enter the class. You didn't have to be a 95 student, but you would take the challenge, and that's what you said tonight. So, if you want to be challenged, it's okay, but you can't expect to get a 5 or 6. But just post it on Instagram, the AP Lit, well, it's excellent. So that's all I want to say. So sometimes we want to challenge the kids, which is okay, but they may not get high grades. And we have a problem with inflating quarterly grades sometimes, I know. And then when they take the state test, we're like, oh God, what happened? As a parent. Well, they were grades were inflated for 4 quarters, you know, so, right?
Thank you so much.
So
true,
you may
thank
get
you.
a 2 on an AP, but you know what? You learned something. You got challenged. And it's at the end of the world? No. It's not the end of the world, so.
And to echo Ms. Ketty's sentiment, it is a college level course.
Yeah.
And it's for students to challenge themselves.
Your ninth graders take it.
Yeah, and kudos to all the kids that
Yeah,
do.
as the parents.
I think,
But sometimes parents, excuse me, sometimes parents put their kids in the course because they want them to be among the other kids. But sometimes it's too hard for them. So that's sometimes the price, but it's okay.
I think what parents were saying to me wasn't that they don't want their kids to be challenged. They wanted to know what they could do for more retention
Well,
and
I
more.
got tutors like for my
Yeah,
kids.
that's what I did for my own daughter this year, and she did good because I had, but some people can't,
That's okay too.
right, but some people can't afford, right, some people can't afford, I'm not saying, like, some people can't afford to pay a tutor every week. I know I did it this whole year, and my children are in like AP classes, but it was because I knew that this is what they needed
Yeah, but
personally.
everybody's priorities.
But I would like to see if we could do something as a district,
Yeah.
not
Or maybe-
that maybe get like tutoring, even if we have to pay
A
extra.
lot of kids don't want to do that. My husband was a math teacher for many years at Connect Park, and a parent came for a parent-teacher meeting, had them twice in 7th grade, 2 periods every other day. The girl went to extra help whenever he had it. The mom came in for a meeting and said, I want to get a tutor. He said, get rid of the tutor. She should have 1 period of math. Tell her to go outside and play. He said, more math is not going to make her like it more. So, sometimes that's not what you need.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Can I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the business meeting?
Second.
Everybody have a good night, thank you.